Okay, so this is going to be the sacral diagnostics video. So the first thing we're going to do is a seated flexion test. So the first thing you do is just sit behind the patient with them seated, facing away from you. And to find the PSI, this is the first thing that you have to do. So you're going to find the iliac crest, the top of the heights of them. You're going to come posteriorly until you fall off a bump. And that's the PSIs. Make sure that you hook up underneath and that you have slack in the shirt so that the shirt doesn't pull your thumbs. Have the patient flex forward, and then whichever thumb goes more cephalad is the positive side. So my right thumb went more cephalad, so that is the positive side. So it's right side positive on the seated flexion test. After you do that, you'll instruct your patient to lay prone, and what you're going to do is now you're going to have to see which sacral sulcus is deep. So to do that, again, you follow the iliac crest posteriorly till you fall off that bump right here, and then you're going to come medially to the PSIS, and you're going to sink your thumbs inward or deeper at tissue speed. You're going to see which side is deeper, and for him, his right side feels deeper. Okay. Then what you're going to do is you're going to find the ILA, and you got to see which one is more posterior and inferior. And again, remember, keep your fingers up cephalad. You're going to come down. Okay, feel the base of my hand where the sacrum is starting to curve anteriorly. That's where I'm going to put my thumbs. And his left one is more inferior. His left PSI, ILA is more inferior. So then you would have to make a proper diagnosis with that. So he was deep on the right, posterior inferior on the left. They're on opposite sides. We're dealing with torsion. He's deep on the right. Therefore, his sacrum is rotated left. So it's a left rotation torsion. His seated flexion test was positive on the right. Therefore, it's a left on left torsion. Okay, so now we're going to go over sacral treatments. The first treatment we're going to do is a unilateral left sacral flexion. Okay, so the findings you would expect would be a deep left sacral sulcus, a posterior inferior ILA on the left side, and then a seated flexion test positive on the left side as well. So we're going to try to, because the sacral base on the left side is stuck forward anteriorly, we're going to try to use respirations during the inhalation phase to try to pop that side of the base posteriorly. So the first thing you're going to do is you can follow the iliac crest posteriorly until you find the PSIs. Okay. And then what you need to do is go medial to PSIs on that sulcus. You're going to take one or two fingers of your cephalad hand and put it in that sulcus. Okay. Take your caudate hand, you're going to grab that leg. You're going to abduct and adduct until you feel the tissue in that sulcus as soft as can be. Then you're going to stop at that point. You're going to internally rotate and lay the leg on the table. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take your caudate hand and you're going to find the ILA on the left side. Okay, put your cephalad hand on top of it, and this is where we're going to utilize the respirations. So I'm going to ask the patient to take a deep breath in, and when they do, I'm following that ILA anteriorly. Okay, then when he breathes out, I'm not allowing that ILA to come back posteriorly, because again, it's like a seesaw, and we're pushing the ILA anteriorly to try to get the base or the left sulcus to kind of come posteriorly because it's stuck anteriorly. You're going to do that 5 to 7 times, and then you must rescreen with a seated flexion test. Okay, so that was just a unilateral left flexion. Next, we're going to do a unilateral left sacral extension. With that one, the findings are going to be right deep sacral sulcus, right posterior inferior ILA. However, the seated flexion test is positive on the left side. Okay, so that's a unilateral left extension. So the way, again, we're going to utilize respirations with this, but we're also going to utilize postural motion. We're going to have them go in the Sphinx position. The first thing you have to do, though, is you have to find the PSIs. Right there. Bring your thumb medially. Take one or two fingers, put it in that sulcus. Again, you're going to grab the leg. It's the same setup as the unilateral flexion. You're going to abduct and adduct until you feel the tissue as soft as can be in that sulcus. You're going to internally rotate and lay on the table. Now this one, your cephalad hand goes down first. So you need to find that PSIs, and you want to take the heel of your cephalad hand and put it just medial to that. So you're on that left sacral sulcus. You're going to take your caudate hand and put it over the cephalad hand. You're then going to instruct the patient to get on their elbows in the Sphinx position. This is trying to hyperextend the lumbar spine to try to help force the sacral sulcus on the left side forward because it's stuck back. We want it to go forward. So we're going to utilize exhalation during respirations for this. So can you take a breath in? Don't try to not let that base come or the sulcus come more posterior. Breathe out. When they breathe out, you follow the sulcus anteriorly. Breathe in. Don't let the sulcus come posteriorly. Breathe out. Follow it anteriorly. Okay, again, you're going to do that. It's respiratory assist, these techniques, so you're going to do it 5 to 7 times. And then when you're done, make sure that you rescreen with a seated flexion test. Okay, so next, we will be doing the torsion treatments. We're going to start with forward torsions. Okay, so remember, they always, with all torsion treatments, they always lay on the axis, the side of the oblique axis that is within the dysfunction. Okay, so we're dealing with, in this case, it's a forward torsion. He's on his left side, so it's the left axis. So we're dealing with a left on left. That's what we're treating right now. Okay, so with this one, the first thing you do, you slide towards the end of the table. That's good. Okay, can you put your belly on the table for me? Instruct them to put their belly on the table. Take your cephalad hand. You're going to palpate the lumbosacral junction, which is the S1 L5 junction. You're going to sit down next to the patient, facing the foot of the table. Okay, and then you're going to grab both legs, and you're going to flex and extend the hips until you feel motion at that junction, which is right there. That's just isolating it. Then what you're going to do is you're going to rest their knees on your thigh or your knee. You're going to take your caudate hand, place it on the ankle or on the lower leg, and you're going to push downward until you feel a barrier. And then you're going to ask the patient to lift their ankles up towards the ceiling. You hold an unyielding counter force for 3 to 5 seconds. You then ask them to relax, and then you find the new barrier. And you repeat this 3 to 5 times. And then after you do 3 to 5 times, you then help the patient back up. And then you must rescreen with a seated flexion test. Okay, so that was a forward torsion. Now we're going to do a backward torsion. Again, just like the forward torsion, any torsion, they always lay on the side of the oblique axis that is engaged within the torsion. So he is on his left side, so this is going to be a treatment for a right on left sacral torsion. So for this one, you don't need a seat. Okay. So the first thing you do is you take your cephalad hand, and you're going to find the lumbosacral junction. You're going to grab both legs with your caudate hand, and you're going to extend and flex the hip until you feel motion at that lumbosacral junction. Now you must switch hands. Your caudate hand now goes to the lumbosacral junction. Your cephalad hand is going to rotate the patient, and you're going to rotate them by putting their back towards the table. Always with a backward torsion, the back goes towards the table. Again, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can push the shoulder like this, or you can have them grab your elbow and you sweep around and you grab their arm and pull. And you're twisting them or rotating them until you feel motion at that lumbosacral junction. Okay. You then need to switch hands, and you need to grab just the top leg. Okay, I'm going to use my forearm to stabilize the hip, and I do not have them over enough, so you'd have to have them slide over. But you push downwards to the barrier, and then you have them try to lift their leg up. 3 to 5 seconds, you have them relax, you find the new barrier, and you repeat that 3 to 5 times. And then when you're done, you help the patient back up, and always make sure that you rescreen with the seated flexion test.
Okay, this is the part of the video where we'll be doing all the Innominate diagnostics. So you're going to start with doing a standing flexion test. You're going to go in from the sides, feel that iliac crest, work your way around back underneath the PSIS on both sides. You're then going to instruct your patient to flex forward while your eyes at that level and back up. Use positive on the right. You then can statically check that PSIS height, and it also happens to be higher on the right. You can check the iliac crest height, a little bit higher on the right. Turn and face me. Go in with your palms, feel that ASIS, put your thumbs on it, higher on the left, lower on the right. You then can instruct your patient to turn back around again. You have to do the popliteal creases, so you're going to want to be down level. You're going to feel on down. Get that crease and get that height. You'll have to instruct us on which one's higher or lower. You then can also get the medial malleoli, higher or lower, and medial arch on both sides by sticking your finger under that arch. You then will instruct your patient to lay down on the bed. Again, you'll flex the knees up, lift your hips up, put them back down to make sure the pelvis is perfectly flat. Again, you'll check the medial malleoli heights from underneath the medial malleolus. You can then also recheck your ASIS heights and your iliac crest heights. Alright, this video will cover the 4 innominate treatments. We're going to do them all on Rob's right side. So the first innominate treatment we're going to do is a right anteriorly rotated innominate. So that means the standing flexion test was positive on the right ASIS is inferior, the right PSIS is superior. So for this treatment, you're going to flex the leg up. You can either put both hands underneath like this while you're seated, or one hand underneath and one on that ASIS. You're going to flex until you hit that barrier, and then you're going to instruct your patient to straighten their leg out this way, kicking towards that wall. Kick towards that wall. Hold in unyielding force 3 to 5 seconds and relax, and take up the new barrier. By him firing his hamstrings, he's reciprocally inhibiting his quads, allowing that innominate to rotate back. Again, Rob, and relax. Take up a new barrier 3 to 5 times, and that's the anteriorly rotated innominate. For a posteriorly rotated innominate, you want your patient laying slightly diagonal. So if the right innominate is posteriorly rotated, the right ASIS is superior, the right PSIS is inferior, the standing flexion test is positive on the right. You take your cephalad hand, put it on the contralateral or opposite ASIS. You're then going to take that leg and drop it off the table and push down until you find that barrier. When I'm pushing here, I'm feeling the pressure there, I'm at the barrier. You're then going to instruct your patient to drive their knee up towards the ceiling. Push towards the ceiling, 3 to 5 seconds, and relax. Take up the new barrier. In this treatment, Rob is firing his quads, which is reciprocally inhibiting his hamstrings on the back, allowing that innominate to rotate back into neutral position. Push up towards the ceiling again, and relax. Take up that new barrier. And one more time, and relax. Take up that new barrier. The next treatment we're going to do is a right up shear innominate. So diagnostics, it's positive on the right. The ASIS and the PSIS on the right are superior. So we're going to want to pull this down. This treatment uses respiratory assist. When Rob breathes in, his diaphragm pushes down, and that's when you will pull up that slack, more caudad. So again, you want to make sure you're down on the ankle, not on the, lower leg, not down on the ankle and foot. We're working on his hip, not on his ankle mechanics. So again, you're going to take that leg, internally rotate, see how the tension's going up into his hip, providing slight traction. Take a deep breath in, and I'm pulling downward, and breathe out, and I'm holding that new real estate I've gained. Take a deep breath in, and I pull downward, and breathe out, keeping that tension. One more time, breathe in, and I'm pulling down, and breathe out, holding that real estate I gained, and relax. Lay on your side facing that way. So our final treatment will be a right inferior shear. So standing flexion test is positive on the right. The ASIS and PS on the right are inferior compared to the left. So with this treatment, we're dealing with sensitive tissues. So make sure your patient has moved any sensitive tissues out of the way. You good, Rob?
Good.
Alrighty. So your hand on the inner side is going up until you get that pubic symphysis. On the back, your hand can trace up the hamstrings to the ischial tuberosity, where you can put your fist on there. You then instruct your patient to take a deep breath in, and when he breathes out, that's when you push cephalad. Take a deep breath in, and breathe out, push cephalad. Take a deep breath in, and breathe out, push cephalad. And those are the treatments of the innominates.